welcome to Storm Reads, and today I'm going to do kind of a little wrap up of how the first week went, pretty much. I'm trying to do the book a day in May. I'm a little behind, but hopefully I can catch up. The whole goal is to read 31 books in the whole month, so even if I don't get like a book every day, as long as I get 31 books, I'll consider that being accomplished. Um, right now, I've currently read 8 books. I'm almost finished with number 9 and number 10. So, I mean, I'm pretty close. I'm not too far behind, I guess you could say. Um, a lot of these are on audiobook. That's how I've been getting through them so quickly, or I probably wouldn't be able to get through very many books. So, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you about the books that I've read so far. And so the first one is Granny Got a Gun. And it's by Harper Lin, and it's a Secret Agent Granny number 1. And it's a really short, kind of fun, cozy mystery about an older lady. Her name's Barbara Gold, and she's a retired CIA agent. And she's like bored out of her mind. she, she's so used to the action, and she lives in this small town in New England. And while she's at this event, a man is poisoned during a book club meeting and for seniors. And so, of course, since she's a trained CIA agent, she kind of picks up on some of the things and realizes that, it wasn't a heart attack like everybody thinks it was, that he was poisoned. And so then she's got to try to figure out what happened. Like I said, it was a really quick one. I think it was maybe 3 hours or just under a 3 hour audiobook or something. It's just really really quick. And it was cute. I would probably give it like 3 stars. It was fun. And then I listened to Picture Perfect Frame by Lynn Cahoon. This is the 12th book in the Tourist Trap mystery series. And this one has Jill and Greg. They attend a thing called the paint and sip. So I guess you try to paint a picture while you're drinking. So probably the more you drink, the funner your picture is gonna look when you're painting it. Anyway, they witnessed this out of town couple that were there that get in kind of an argument or whatever, and then that lady ends up dead. And it seems kind of strange to Jill that an outer towner would get murdered in the town. It's like, who would have wanted her murdered except for like maybe her husband and everything. So of course she's going to try to figure it out. Her boyfriend is police detective, and of course he tries to tell her to not get involved, but he knows that she doesn't really listen. And she usually helps him anyway. So he'll ask her, what she thinks, and she'll tell him. She tries not to run off and get herself in trouble. I mean, she always tries to tell him whenever something's going on, or she thinks something's a little hinky. So that's not so bad. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and this is one of my favorite cozy mystery series. And so yeah, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. And then I signed up for KU, and so Kindle Unlimited, and I've signed up before, and I've never really used it that much, but this time I've decided I want to try to use it a little bit more if I'm going to sign up. When I signed up, I got like 2 free months, and so I'm trying to decide in these 2 free months if it is really something that I want to decide to keep and utilize more. If I do keep it, then I do need to utilize it. I'm not going to spend $9.99 a month and not use it. And so I found a couple of, it was a duology, it was a fantasy duology, and I call it kind of a light, cozy fantasy with a mystery. It didn't really seem like really hardcore fantasy or anything. And the first one is Spellbreaker by Charlie N. Holmberg. And then the second one is Spellmaker and it's the Spellbreaker duology, and it's the first one was narrated by Elizabeth Nolden and Joel Fumpkin. I'm probably not even saying that right. And I really liked their narration. And then the second one, I was a little disappointed because it has the same woman, but they changed the narrator to Noel Arthur. And I mean, he was okay, but I really liked the first one better. So I thought I would mention that because it did get a little bit of a narrator change. But it's about the people, they have, some people have like the ability to absorb magic. And if you are one of those people, you need to register. You have to be registered as a spell maker. And there are a few people that are spell breakers, which means they can unravel any of the spells that somebody else has made. So that is what Elsie is. She's a spell breaker, and she was kind of taken in when she was young and taught more about her spell breaking. And she was never registered. She was unregistered. And if you're unregistered, you're breaking the law. And she was working with this group, and she thought she was doing good things, and she ends up finding out that she was being used or whatever. And she meets this guy. What is his name? Bacchus, I think his name is Bacchus. I should have wrote it down. Yeah, I think his name is Bacchus. And she actually meets him because she's trying to break into the house that he is at. And he blackmails her into doing things that he wants. There's some spells that he needs to have removed, and he's kind of using her and blackmailing her. Like, he won't tell on her if she removes these spells for him. And they kind of get to know each other pretty good, and you can tell that there might be a bit of a romance thing going on. In Spellmaker, I can't really say a whole lot, but some things that they find out at the end of Spellmaker, she is now on the hunt for this person in Spellmaker that is been doing some bad things, and there's been some master magic workers have been killed, and their little paper thing taken, and I can't remember what it's called. Oh, I can't remember. But anyway, it has like their magic on it or whatever, and so if the person gets that, like, they can learn more magic, and so that person's getting a little bit more powerful. And so they're trying to find this. And some things happen in the beginning of Spellmaker that really kind of throws this duology, the end of it, into more of a romance, historical romance, fantasy type. And I enjoyed both of them fairly well. I give them both 4 stars. I wasn't sure what I would think of them, but I found them on Kindle Unlimited, and they had free audio with them. So I thought, what the heck, I'll go ahead and give them a try. And I listened to them back to back. I really enjoyed it. I've never read this author before, but I've heard about some of her books, and so I may try some other of her books out. I don't know. And then I listened to The Wife Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, and this one has 3 narrators. It is narrated by Emily Schaefer, Kirby Highborn, and Lauren Fortgang. And I'll just tell you that it's supposed to be a retelling of Jane Eyre, and as a retelling, it's crappy. It really is crappy. It's horrible. I hated every aspect of it. Whenever they were talking, when you could tell, like, it had that essence, a little bit of essence of like Jane Eyre, but Jane was nothing like my Jane from the book, and Edward was not, and I just didn't like what they did to the characters, and it was horrible. It was just, it grated on my nerves a lot. Jane Eyre's my very first classic book that I ever read, so it's a very special place in my heart, and I don't think I can ever read another Jane Eyre retelling ever again, because this one killed me. So I don't know if I can do it. If you know of a really good Jane Eyre retelling, you'll have to leave a comment, because Yeah, I didn't like this one. As a thriller, if you never read Jane Eyre and you're just reading it as a thriller, it was okay. It doesn't have very likable characters. I mean, I didn't really care for Jane. I didn't care for Eddie that much. The other ladies in the Thornfield Estate, like gated community, were horrible and just not likable. So I mean, it didn't really have a lot of likable and redeemable characters, but it was interesting to see what was happening because you did have B, who is being held upstairs, and the whole thing with her and what's going on. And there was a few twists. I was wondering, because if read Jane Eyre, you kind of know how things are gonna go if they are doing things kind of like as in the book. So, but I was still kind of curious because they make it seem like one way and then it gets twisted to a different way, and it's like, oh, so that's kind of how they're gonna do that. And I really feel like you can't really say a whole lot about it without spoiling something. So I'll just say that I gave it 3 stars probably. Just because I'm trying not to think of it as a Jane Eyre retelling, because if I did, I'd probably give it 1 star. But as a thriller, like I said, it was okay, and so 3 stars. And we'll just not talk anymore about it. And then the next audio I have is Sprinkle with Murder by Jen McKinnon. And this is the first in the Cupcake Bakery series, and I was a little leery going into this because I absolutely love the Library Lovers series by Jen McKinnon, and it's always, whenever you start another series, especially cozies, I don't know why, but you start another series, you have like this really high expectations of like what the series is gonna, the other series is gonna be like, because it's based on how much you enjoy that one series. And since Library Lovers is probably like my second favorite cozy mystery series, I was a little leery, but I know everybody really likes this series, so I thought I'd give it a try. It's narrated by one of my favorite narrators, Susan Boyce, so I really like that aspect. But then I also had a hard time um, clicking with, these aren't the same characters that I'm used to her narrating. So once I got past that, it wasn't quite so bad. But it's about Mel and Angie, who own a cupcake bakery, and they're excited to have their first big gig. They were going to cater for their best friend Tate, his bridezilla, because she's just really awful. I mean, you could tell that she was probably going to be the one that ended up dead. She was horrible. And yeah, so they were going to do that. Well, she's found with one of their cupcakes in their hand. So they, of course, I think it's Mel becomes a suspect because she was supposed to I think she was the one that cooked them, and she was supposed to have gave the cupcakes to her, and she's the one that found the body because she was supposed to meet with her to discuss if she liked the flavors of the cupcakes or anything. And so, of course, then she's a suspect in the eyes of the police. So she's got to try to figure out what happened, and it was really cute. I liked it. I did figure out who the killer was, but it did take me pretty much most of the book to do, so it was pretty good. I will continue with the series because with cozy mysteries, a lot of times it's really hard to decide if you're gonna like the series or not. I mean, I'm just now getting to know the characters, and the characters develop a lot as the series goes, so I really need to give it a few more books to decide exactly how I feel about the series, I guess. But I gave Sprinkles with Murder 4 stars. And then I listened to Spy School by Stuart Gibbs, and this was just, I was looking for some middle grade books since it's kind of a loosely middle grade May type thing is going on, so I wanted to try to get some middle grade books in too. And so I've always seen this around, but I never tried it, and so they had the audiobook on Libby, and so I decided to go for it. It's narrated by Gibson Fraser, and this was my first time, I think, listening to him, and he was pretty enjoyable. But it's about Ben, and he thinks that he's signing up for a science school, but he ends up in CIA school instead. And then he finds out that the only reason that they let him in, it wasn't really based on his grades or how well he does at things, even though he's told that he's like a really good code breaker or code person or whatever, but really he's just a pawn to try to flush out the mole that's in the school. And he ends up getting himself in all kinds of trouble, and he proves to be pretty good at getting himself out of the trouble too. And so maybe he's actually where he needs to be in CIA school. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. I do want to continue with it. If you watched my video about series, you'll notice that I did put that on my list because I would like to get caught up on that series. There's like 9 books, I think, in the series. And so if I can find them all on audio, that'll probably be the way to go. I can probably get through them pretty quick. And then the last book I have that I've read is The Cursed by Heather Graham, and it's Crew of Hunters number 12. And it's about Hannah who runs a B&B, and she also has kind of like ghost thing going on. They're like a haunted tour or whatever of the B&B, because it is known to be haunted, and she can see ghosts, and she does have 2 resident ghosts. And one night when she has visitors there, they're outside, they start screaming and everything because they think they've seen a ghost, and it's a really gruesome ghost, and they didn't expect anything like that to be there, and so they don't want to stay there anymore. And so she like loses half the people that were in her B&B, and she gets mad because she thinks the ghost tried to do something scary and spooky, but it wasn't. She ends up finding a guy in the back, and he's had his throat slit, and so it was an actual person. They didn't see a ghost. It was a person. And so in comes FBI agent Dallas, and he has a special interest in the murder case because it was a colleague of his who was trying to infiltrate the Los Lupos, which is the wolf, and it is a really, really bad gang, and he was trying to be one that kind of got in there to be an insider, and evidently that didn't go so well. And so he really wants to find out who killed his friend, and so he's investigating. And then some of the crew of hunter people come because of the circumstances and everything. It's Hannah is Kelsey's cousin, and Kelsey is one of the crew of hunters, and so they come to help out and to find out. And it has some things to do with like buried treasure and something within the house, and they have to protect Hannah. And of course, Dallas is more than happy to protect Hannah because this is a paranormal romance. And I really like the Crew of Hunters series, and it's been a while since I've read one or listened to one, because I've listened to all of them because they're mostly, I believe, narrated by Luke Daniels, who is one of my favorite male narrators. And so it's always just nice to listen to him talk to me because I really like him. And it's just a fun way to consume this series. And there's like 35 in the series, and I just finished number 12, so I got a ways to go. But yeah, it was nice to get another one of those knocked off of my list. And so that's the 8 books that I have currently read during the month. And like I said, I pretty much listened to all those, but I have been working on other books, and I will show you. And here's one that I will probably be finishing tonight, and this is Bigfoot in the Bronx by Hunter Shaa, and it's a buddy read that me and my friend Barb are doing, and it's not exactly what I thought it would be, but it's still pretty good. Not quite as much of a romp and chomp kind of book that I thought it would be, but basically it's about this Bigfoot. These 2 guys, Vito and Shaa, they were supposed to be hunting a deer, which I guess I didn't know the Bronx had woods, but they are out there hunting the deer, and the deer ends up getting ate by the Bigfoot. Well, they're like scared out of their minds, and they thought trying to shoot at it was somebody else actually shot it with tranquilizer, and so they think it's dead. So they're going to take credit for it, and so they loaded up in their truck and they took it home. but it was just tranquilized. It's not dead. And so when it wakes up and it's in a different place, it doesn't know where it's at. And you get the, I think what I think is kind of interesting is you get the point of view of the Bigfoot. And so, like, when he wakes up and he doesn't know where he's at and he's kind of afraid because there's all these shiny cars and these strange people and these noises that he's not used to and things like that. And it's pretty interesting. And so I kind of like that aspect. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's just not exactly, I guess, what I was thinking it might be. And another book that I got from Kindle Unlimited, because basically I've seen it around, I've heard about it, I've always been kind of interested in it, but at the same time I wasn't really quite sure about it. And so I seen it was on Kindle Unlimited and it had audio, so I went ahead and grabbed it, and that's The Vine Witch by Luann G. Smith. And I'm actually kind of enjoying it. It's kind of hard to explain exactly what it is. I mean, it doesn't seem like a whole lot of stuff actually happens, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting. I I don't even know if that makes any sense, but it's about this witch, and I can't remember her name, but she had a spell, like a curse or something on her, a spell, and she was turned into like this toad, and she ends up waking up out of the toad, coming out of the toad or whatever in the beginning, and becoming like human again. And she's a vine witch, and she finds out that her grandmere sold their vineyard to this guy named John Paul, and he doesn't believe in witches or any of that kind of stuff. And the lady, she's wanting to revive the vineyard and use her vine witch abilities, but he doesn't want anything to do with that at the beginning anyway. And she's also wanting to get like revenge on who turned her into a toad, I guess. And she thinks it's this one guy, and I can't remember his name, Bastion, I think. And then she ends up in trouble towards the end because something happens, and so now she's having to try to figure out things that what happened to and everything. I can't really say, but it's kind of almost like a, I don't know, like a historical paranormal mystery of sorts. So maybe that's why I'm kind of liking it, because it does have a little bit of a mystery aspect, because there is a murder that happens in here, and then things have to be resolved. And I'm almost done with it. I think I'm like 75% in and stuff. And so I'm kind of curious, and we'll see how it ends if I decide to continue on with series or not. Because sometimes if I don't like the ending, it makes me not want to go on to the next one. And I am also, you're probably tired of hearing about this one, but I'm also still in the middle of Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. And it's not because I'm not liking it, it's just because I'm not in the mood for a young adult contemporary, but I am trying to finish it. I'm almost there. I'm over halfway at least. So, and I'm enjoying it. It's about Liz, who she has this idea that since this guy Michael come back to her school, like he left whenever they were kids and he come back, and she always had a crush on him back then, so she thinks this is going to be her love story, just like the movies, because she's always watched all these rom-coms and everything, and she thinks this is her chance and everything. And the only way to get to Michael is through Wes, who is her next door neighbor, who she's always fought with and everything, and she's just never saw Wes as anything but a pain in her backside, pretty much. But the only way to get to Michael is through Wes, and she starts to realize that Wes isn't really as bad of a person as she thought he was. And so why is she liking everything she's doing with Wes instead of Michael? And that's all the ones that I'm currently in the middle of. And when I get some of those done, I am hoping to get started. I've read a couple of pages in this just because I was curious. Like, yeah, I think I'm on page 5. But I do need to get into this one, which is The Blood Like Magic by Salisbury. And let me tell you, this has got a really interesting like start to the book, because it starts out with her. There's something about lounging in a bath of blood that makes me want to stay until my fingers shrivel enough to show the outlines of my bones. Now, if that doesn't just grab you, I don't know what will. So I am kind of curious about this, and it is a chunker, so I need to get started now if I'm going to get finished with it by the end of the month. And I got this little thing from the author, and it just came in the mail the other day. And since I'm trying to get some middle grade books done, I thought I would throw this one in here and try to get this one done as soon as possible. And it's Shelf Life, Never Turn the Page Too Soon by Leslie R. Henderson. And from what I can gather, it is about a little self-published book who gets left behind at a bookstore because its author is frustrated because I guess maybe he's not selling quite like he wanted it to. And while the little book is there, he finds a lot of other things happening in the bookstore, and so I'm guessing like the books are gonna like maybe talk or something, I guess. I don't know. But, I mean, look, he's so cute. But anyway, so I'm kind of curious about that one. And I'm sure there'll be other audiobooks and things like that I'll probably slip in, but I don't know exactly what that will be. So you'll just find out on my next wrap up. Boy, I got a little rambly on this one. It's getting kind of long. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.